On a cold morning in November, a super rich couple named Regina and Richard had a baby boy and named him Richie. Right from the start, a nice butler named Cadbury took care of the baby all the time. Richie's family was the richest in the whole world. The dad, Richard, had to work all day at his big company, but he still played with his son every single day because he was a very nice man. Richard had just bought a broken factory called United Tool that was about to close down, and he fixed it so the workers wouldn't lose their jobs. The happy workers threw a big party to celebrate, but since the dad was too busy, Richie went to the party instead. Richie showed up with his butler and a bodyguard, and everyone clapped and cheered for him. Nearby, some regular kids were playing baseball, and they looked over and talked about how lucky Richie was to be so rich and have an easy life. Richie just watched them play while people were giving speeches. When the party ended, Richie wanted to walk over and play with the kids, but his guard named Ferguson blocked him and said it was dangerous. This made Cadbury mad, so he told the guard to take his hands off the boy. Then Cadbury nicely told Richie they had to go home because they had a busy schedule. When Richie got home, his dog Dollar jumped all over him because he was happy. And then Richie went to see his parents. His mom had hired an artist to carve their giant faces into a mountain, which showed just how crazy rich they were. Richie also had super smart scientists teaching him, so he went to a lab run by Professor Keenbean. The professor showed Richie some cool toys he made, like a machine that turns trash into new things, super strong glue, and a spray that makes clothes block bullets. He also showed him a robot bee that cost millions of dollars to make. Richie used a remote to fly the bee around Cadbury's head to tease him, but Cadbury thought it was a real bug and smashed it with a newspaper, which made the professor really sad. Outside, the artist was oozing a laser on the mountain, and the mom kept yelling at him to make the dad's cheeks look skinnier. That night, a mean business partner named Lawrence came over for dinner. Richie and his mom hated him, so Richie sat really far away from him at the long table. The dad prided himself on never firing anyone, but Lawrence only cared about cash and complained that the dad was wasting money, helping poor people and keeping the broken factory. The mom said they would never stop helping people, and then the dad smiled and told Lawrence he was going to give the whole factory to the workers for free. Right then, the professor ran into the room super excited because he invented a machine called the Smell Master that can smell things from far away and tell you exactly what they are. When Richie saw this new toy, he immediately started playing with it to test it out. After dinner was completely finished, the dad, Richard, and the mom, Regina, walked outside to the front door to say goodbye to their guest Lawrence. As he was walking away, Lawrence gave them a big fancy warning and said they should really buy a much better home security system because they had way too many bad enemies in the world. But the dad, Richard, just told him that he didn't need any of that stuff because he never kept his expensive things just lying around the house. He said that the family's most special and valuable treasure was locked up tight inside a super safe hidden vault. When Lawrence heard this, a sneaky evil smile came onto his face because he had very bad plans and wanted to find out exactly where that secret vault was hidden by any means. The next morning, when the loud morning alarm went off, Cadbury walked into Richie's bedroom to wake him up, just like he did every single day. Today, a brand new workout lady named Claudia had come over to the house to run his morning exercise. After finishing his hard workout and taking a nice bath, Richie went right back into his bedroom. He immediately turned on his special high-tech computer to find out where his dad was at that exact moment. After looking at the bright screen, it showed that his dad was actually inside the White House talking about an important money plan with the president of the country. Richie clicked a button to make a direct video call right into the room. When Richard saw his son's message pop up, he got scared and thought that maybe some huge danger had happened at home. He told the president he was very sorry and said he had to talk to his boy for just a little minute and would be right back. But as soon as the dad came onto the video screen, Richie just pointed to his face and started showing him that a tiny little red pimple had popped up on his skin. When his dad saw this, he just laughed and told Richie that they would talk about the spot nicely after he came back home in the evening. After talking with his dad, Richie put on his clothes and went to his school where he met a bunch of other kids from super wealthy families. While he was there, a really mean and braggy boy was yelling super loudly at a worker because the man had made a tiny mistake when bringing the boy's favorite cup of coffee. To stop the boy from being so angry and teach him a good lesson, something funny happened playfully right there that made the hot coffee spill all over the mean boy's own clothes, which totally ruined his big ego and made him look silly. When school was finally over and Richie was riding back home, Cadbury told him the good news that all his other classes for the rest of the day were canceled, so he had some free time to do whatever he wanted. When he heard this, Richie told the butler to drive him straight back toward that old factory. The truth was that Richie really wanted to play baseball with those regular kids he had seen earlier. But when he got to the field, those kids stood there and flatly told him he couldn't play with them at all. They made fun of him and said that he was way too rich of a boy to play with ordinary kids like them, and they joked that he should go home and bring a bat made out of shiny gold and silver. But Richie did not give up at all. He looked at the kids and told them they should make a fun bet. He challenged them and said he would hit a super amazing long shot off the ball thrown by their very best pitcher. At first, a girl named Gloria threw the ball super fast and well. So, Richie didn't even touch the first ball with his bat. Right after that, he focused really hard and hit a giant, magnificent long shot on the very next ball, which left every single kid standing there totally shocked. Now all the other kids had lost the big bet. When they started pulling out their money to give it to him, Richie nicely told them that he didn't need any of their money at all, but instead, they should all just come over to his big house in the next few days to hang out and play with him. A few days later, the whole family planned a big trip to London where they were going to sit down and drink hot tea with the Queen of England. All the helpers at the mansion were super busy loading up the big private airplane with all kinds of expensive things and nice gifts that they're going to give to the Queen. The guard, Ferguson, was also standing right there checking all the gift boxes. Right then, as they were walking onto the plane, the mom, Regina, noticed that Richie was sitting down looking super sad. When she asked Cadbury why the boy was sad, Cadbury told her that Richie would get super bored at such a giant, boring royal party, so it would be a much better idea to let him stay right here at home, so he could have some real fun. Regina thought Cadbury's idea was really great. She took Richie off the airplane and told him to have a great time playing at the house. When Ferguson saw the mom and dad go inside the airplane alone, he let out a big breath because his secret bad work was finally done. After the parents flew away, Cadbury made a super cool plan to make Richie happy. He nicely invited Gloria, her mom named Diane, and all of her regular friends to come over to Richie's house. When the regular kids walked inside such a giant and fancy mansion, they were completely blown away by how huge and beautiful it was. Richie welcomed all his new friends with so much happiness and took them on a big tour around his whole house. The kids could not believe their eyes when they saw that the house actually had its very own private McDonald's built. Other classes for the rest of the day were canceled, so he had some free time to do whatever he wanted. When he heard this, Richie told the butler to drive him straight back toward that old factory. The truth was that Richie really wanted to play baseball with those regular kids he had seen earlier. But when he got to the field, those kids stood there and flatly told him he couldn't play with them at all. They made fun of him and said that he was way too rich of a boy to play with ordinary kids like them, and they joked that he should go home and bring a bat made out of shiny gold and silver. But Richie did not give up at all. He looked at the kids and told them they should make a fun bet. He challenged them and said he would hit a super amazing long shot off the ball thrown by their very best pitcher. At first, a girl named Gloria threw the ball super fast and well. So, Richie didn't even touch the first ball with his bat. Right after that, he focused really hard and hit a giant, magnificent long shot on the very next ball, which left every single kid standing there totally shocked. Now all the other kids had lost the big bet. When they started pulling out their money to give it to him, Richie nicely told them that he didn't need any of their money at all, but instead they should all just come over to his big house in the next few days to hang out and play with him. A few days later, the whole family planned a big trip to London where they were going to sit down and drink hot tea with the Queen of England. All the helpers at the mansion were super busy loading up the big private airplane with all kinds of expensive things and nice gifts that they going to give to the Queen. The guard, Ferguson, was also standing right there checking all the gift boxes. Right then, as they were walking onto the plane, the mom, Regina, noticed that Richie was sitting down looking super sad. When she asked Cadbury why the boy was sad, Cadbury told her that Richie would get super bored at such a giant, boring royal party, so it would be a much better idea to let him stay right here at home, so he could have some real fun. Regina thought Cadbury's idea was really great. She took Richie off the airplane and told him to have a great time playing at the house. When Ferguson saw the mom and dad go inside the airplane alone, he let out a big breath because his secret bad work was finally done. After the parents flew away, Cadbury made a super cool plan to make Richie happy. He nicely invited Gloria, her mom named Diane, and all of her regular friends to come over to Richie's house. When the regular kids walked inside such a giant and fancy mansion, they were completely blown away by how huge and beautiful it was. Richie welcomed all his new friends with so much happiness and took them on a big tour around his whole house. The kids could not believe their eyes when they saw that the house actually had its very own private McDonald's built. Ferguson ran straight into Lawrence's new office. He told him that a little mistake happened because Richie wasn't even on the plane and was still alive at home. Lawrence got super angry and started yelling, but then he calmed down and said that since he got rid of the parents, he would get rid of the boy next. Big boats started looking all over the ocean, but after many hours, they couldn't find Richard and Regina anywhere. Everyone thought they were dead and gone, but deep inside his heart, Richie knew his mom and dad were completely safe and alive. And the boy was totally right, because the two of them had saved themselves from the big waves by jumping into a little yellow lifeboat and were waiting for someone to rescue them. Richard kept trying to fix his talking device because he knew for sure that Richie would find them using the signal. Sitting out in the middle of the sea, Regina was totally sure that Lawrence was the one who put the bomb on the plane. Shangri told Richard that he should have fired that bad guy a long time ago. But Richard still couldn't believe his partner would do that. Right now, their biggest problem was trying to send a message to Richie to warn him that he was in big danger because whoever tried to hurt them would try to hurt Richie next. Meanwhile, back in the city, Lawrence took advantage of the parents being gone and made himself the new boss of the company. The very first mean thing he did was order the United Tool Factory to close down immediately, which made Gloria's mom, Diane, and hundreds of other workers lose their jobs all at once. When Gloria told Richie about this while crying her eyes out, Richie made a huge choice to take over his dad's business. He walked right into the big meeting room and told all the old bosses that, until his parents came back, he was going to run the whole company himself. Since Richie officially owned more than half of the company's shares and Cadbury Wash's legal helper, Richie used his power to open the factory back up and told Lawrence he wasn't allowed to fire anyone at all. A few days later, Gloria and her friends came to the big office building to say a huge thank you to Richie for saving their parents' jobs. While they were hanging out there, a kid named Pee-wee tried to get some chewing gum, but he accidentally broke the whole machine. Anyway, the kids walked all around the big building and came into their friend's office, and they were super happy to see Richie sitting there. Little by little, Richie got real control over the big company and made the important money bosses trust him. He talked to the science team and made a big choice to put 15% more nuts inside the company's candy bars so they could sell more candy than anyone else. This made Lawrence super duper mad, and he whispered to Ferguson that they had to get rid of this boy as fast as they could. He told him to do the job perfectly this time with zero mistakes. Just a few hours later, the police showed up at the house and locked Cadbury up in jail. They lied and said that Cadbury was the one who hid the scary bomb on the mom and dad's airplane. With Cadbury gone, Lawrence went to the court judge and lied that he was a very old family friend, so he should be the one to look after Richie. The judge said yes. As soon as Lawrence got the power, the first mean thing he did was fire every single old helper working at the mansion. He lied and said they were probably helping Cadbury do bad things. Then he put sneaky spy cameras all over the big house and even right inside Richie's bedroom. Richie felt just like a prisoner locked up in his own home, so he wanted to find Lawrence and talk to him. Right then, Lawrence was playing a game of pool and asking Ferguson where the family secret treasure vault was hidden, but Ferguson told him he never got to see where the vault was. At that exact same time, Professor Keen Bean was sitting in his lab using a special spy tool to listen to their whole conversation, so he learned the scary truth. He heard Ferguson say that they were going to hurt Cadbury in jail and make it look like he hurt himself. When he heard this, the professor ran over to Richie and told him everything. Now the two of them made a secret plan to bust Cadbury out of prison. Professor Keen Bean mixed up a super strong chemical that could melt heavy iron bars like butter. For the first time ever, Richie put on regular boy clothes so nobody would know who he was, and he went to the jail to see Cadbury. Richie told the jail guard that he brought some everyday things for his uncle, Cadbury. Inside the bag, along with some soap, there was a secret note written in a different language and that special toothpaste. The guard took the bag inside. When Cadbury went into the bathroom, he read the note which told him his life was in danger and that he needed to use the toothpaste to cut the iron bars. But before he could run away, a mean bully sent by Lawrence ran into the bathroom and tried to choke Cadbury with a towel. Cadbury yelled out for help, but nobody came to save him. Then, a giant fight started between the two men. Cadbury was super smart and quick, so he beat up the mean bully and knocked him out cold on the floor. After that, he squirted the chemical toothpaste onto the window bars and the iron melted away so he could just walk right out of the jail. Richie was waiting for him outside, but since Richie was wearing regular clothes, Cadbury didn't even know it was him at first. Then Richie showed him a newspaper that said they found the broken plane in the ocean, but didn't find the parents anywhere. This made Richie believe even more that his mom and dad were still alive. After that, they ran over to Gloria's house and asked her mom, Diane, if they could use the girl's computer. Meanwhile, out in the middle of the deep sea, the dad Richard was working hard to fix the broken radio in the little lifeboat. He took an earring from the mom, Regina, to give the radio some power, and his smart trick worked. Back at the house, as soon as Richie sat down at Gloria's computer, he typed in secret codes to connect to the main computer inside his own mansion. But a bad guard sitting in the house saw the screen moving and told Ferguson right away. Lawrence was planning to catch Professor Keen Bean to force him to tell him where the vault was. But just then he heard that Richie was using a computer to find his parents. The computer started working and Richard's real location was just about to show up on the screen. But Ferguson kicked the door open, ran into the room, and ripped all the computer wires right out of the wall, cutting the power completely. Now to save his parents, Richie had to get back inside his own house no matter what. So he asked his regular friends to help him. Out on the ocean, Richard and Regina felt super happy when they saw a search plane fly right over them. They thought their son had sent it to save them. That night, Richie was hiding out inside in the dark garden of his mansion, making secret signs through the window to tell his friends to come inside. The kids made a super smart plan and sneaked right past all the bad security guards to get inside the giant house. And they ran straight to the science lab to rescue Professor Keenbean. Right after that, Richie asked the professor to make up a quick trick to distract the guards so they wouldn't get caught. While Richie and Cadbury were walking quietly toward the main living room, Professor Keenbean dumped a bunch of slippery soap and bubble bath chemicals into the big fountain tank in the garden. All of a sudden, a giant mountain of white foam and bubbles started shooting out of the fountain, which made all the security guards run over to fix the messy soap. While the guards were busy with the bubbles, Pee-wee and the other regular kids sneaked over and turned off all the spy cameras in the house. Since the path was totally clear, Richie and Cadbury ran as fast as they could to the bedroom. But when Richie looked at the computer screen, he got a huge shock because the computer said his dad wasn't lost in the deep sea anymore and was actually sitting right inside this very room. The truth was that Lawrence was already waiting for them inside the room with a bunch of his bad guys. When Richie walked in and saw his poor mom and dad tied up tight with thick ropes, he felt so sad he wanted to cry. The bad guards outside caught all of Richie's friends too, and Ferguson yelled at them to lock the kids up inside the science lab. Richie was super mad and yelled at Lawrence to ask why he was being so mean. Lawrence pulled out a gun and told the dad, Richard, that if he wanted to save his little boy's life, he had to tell him exactly how to open the secret treasure vault right now. Since he had no choice, Richard told him the truth that their most valuable vault wasn't inside the house at all, but was hidden inside that giant family mountain called Mount Richmore. Lawrence took the mom and dad with him and walked out toward the hill, but he left the mean guard Ferguson behind to watch Richie so the dad wouldn't try any tricks. Meanwhile, back in the lab, Professor Keenbean realized the bad guys had taken over his room, so he quickly packed his best inventions into a bag and hid in a secret spot. By this time, the bad guards had locked Richie's friends inside a big metal cage and put them inside a scary trash crusher machine. If nobody saved them fast, the kids would be squished in just a few minutes. To save his friends and trap the bad guys, Professor Keenbean squirted a trap using his super strong glue called Comencia. He managed to stick the guards to the floor so they couldn't move, but he accidentally got some glue on himself and got stuck. Right then, he used his remote control to fly his robot bee straight at Ferguson's face. As soon as the robot bee stung him, Ferguson screamed in pain and tripped right into the main power button, which turned off the big crusher machine and saved all the kids safely. Since the room was clear, Richie grabbed the bag of science inventions and ran super fast toward the big hill to save his mom and dad. By this music time, Lawrence and his men had made it to the front of the secret vault inside Mount Richmore and told Richard to open the heavy door. The door had a special computer that listened to voices, so as soon as the dad said the secret password, the machine knew it was him and the giant door swung open. But when Lawrence stepped inside, he stood there, totally shocked because there was 0 gold, 0 silver, and no money at all. The only things inside the vault were old family memories, baby pictures, old toys, and school trophies. Richard smiled and told him that for his family, these happy memories are the truest wealth in the world, and they keep their actual cash safe inside regular banks and company shares. Hearing this made Lawrence go completely crazy with anger, and he told his men to get rid of the mom and dad for good. Right at that exact second, Richie ran into the vault. As soon as Lawrence saw him, he shot real bullets at the boy. But Richie didn't get hurt at all, because before he ran to the hill, he had sprayed the professor's bulletproof spray all over his clothes. While Lawrence was wondering why the bullets didn't work, the mom and dad moved super fast and punched Lawrence and his guard right down to the ground. After that, they all ran out of the vault real quick, and Richard locked the bad guys inside. But Lawrence found a secret back door to crawl out of and started chasing the family again. To save their lives, the three of them had to run out onto the giant of the mountain statue. Ferguson saw them up there and started shooting at them with a giant laser machine. Just then, Nice Cadbury showed up and jumped on Ferguson. A huge fight started between the two men way up high on the mountain. During the fight, Ferguson accidentally pointed the laser at the big rock statues, making the stones break apart. Regina lost her balance and almost fell all the way down. But Richard was super smart and pulled her safely down to a lower ledge, and then they helped Richie climb down too. Right then, Cadbury used all his big muscles to beat up Ferguson and took control of the laser machine. He used the laser to tie Lawrence up with a rope and hang him upside down in the air. While he was hanging there, Richard looked at him and said he was officially fired from the company. And the mom, Regina, gave him a super hard punch to the face. A few months later, at the very end of the story, we see that Lawrence and his bad friends got let out of jail and are now working as regular gardeners cutting grass in a park as punishment for being mean. On the other side of town, Richie and all of his regular friends are throwing a huge party to celebrate their big win. While they were playing on the field, Cadbury got some real courage and told the mom, Diane, that he really liked her. Seeing their son so happy playing with real friends who truly loved him made Richard and Regina feel super proud because their boy had finally become the richest and luckiest kid in the whole world.